This girl doesn't belong in first class. The words were sharp enough to slice through the steady hum of the jet engines. Passengers turned their heads, eyes darting between the speaker and the target of her disdain. A woman stood in the aisle, tall, elegant, draped in jewelry and couture, her manicured finger leveled at a black teenager who looked up in confusion. Jasmine Robinson pulled off her headphones slowly, her wide eyes darting around the cabin. She was 16, flying alone for the first time in her life, and though her parents had warned her about being cautious, nothing had prepared her for this. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Did I do something wrong?" The woman's name was Stephanie Blackwood. At 42, she was the embodiment of inherited privilege, raised on old money, swaddled in entitlement, and never once denied what she wanted. She tilted her chin, speaking loudly enough for the entire cabin to hear. "Yes, sweetheart, you're in the wrong section. This is first class. Economy is behind the curtain." Jasmine blinked, unsure she'd heard correctly. "But this is seat 2A. It matches my ticket." She held it up, her hand trembling slightly, as if the woman might have made a genuine mistake. Stephanie's lips curled into a cruel smile. "Sweetheart, there's no way your parents could afford this seat. Maybe you wandered up here, or maybe someone gave you a free upgrade by mistake. Either way, you don't belong here." The words struck Jasmine harder than turbulence ever could. She straightened a little in her seat. "My parents bought the ticket for me. I'm flying home from school." "Oh, really?" Stephanie's voice dripped with disbelief. "And what exactly do your parents do to buy first-class seats for their children?" The question hung in the air, full of accusation and venom. Jasmine answered honestly because honesty was all she knew. "My daddy works very hard. He has an important job helping families travel safely." Stephanie let out a laugh that made several passengers shift uncomfortably. "Sure he does. Whatever story you've been told. But seats like this aren't for little charity cases. Be a good girl and move before I call the crew." Tears pricked Jasmine's eyes. "But I have a ticket. Why are you asking me to leave?" Her voice wavered, not from defiance, but from genuine confusion. Around them, murmurs rippled. A man angled his phone camera toward the scene, already recording. A woman leaned closer to her companion, whispering, "This is going to be good." To them, the humiliation of a child was entertainment. The aisle parted as a flight attendant hurried over. Lisa Patel, tall and brisk, had seen arguments before, but what she found was a teenager close to tears with an adult towering over her. "Is there a problem here?" she asked, planting herself near Jasmine protectively. "Yes, there's a problem," Stephanie said immediately, folding her arms. "This girl is in first class by mistake. I need you to move her to her proper seat." Lisa extended her hand. "Ticket, please." Jasmine offered it quickly, relief flickering in her expression as though help had arrived. Lisa scanned the boarding pass against her tablet and nodded firmly. "Her ticket is valid. She belongs here." Stephanie's nostrils flared. "That's impossible." "Look at her! Does she look like she belongs here?" Lisa's expression cooled. "Ma'am, she has every right to be here." For a moment, silence hung heavy, but Stephanie had lived her entire life believing money solved problems. She reached into her designer handbag and produced a thick stack of bills. Casually, she counted out $1,000 and held it out to Lisa as though she were offering a tip. "Why don't we correct this quietly? Move her to economy, and we can all enjoy our flight in peace." Jasmine's heart lurched. She didn't fully understand what was happening, but she could see money changing hands and feel the implication. She was being treated like a mistake that could be bought away. Lisa froze. A war erupted in her chest. She knew it was wrong. Of course she knew. But rent was late, her mother's medication was due, and the car loan notice was sitting on her kitchen counter. The bills had haunted her for months. $1,000 could silence them all. At least for a while. From across the aisle, an elderly man with silver hair and a heavy gold watch muttered, "Spoiled little princess doesn't even know her place." His voice carried enough to be heard by those around him, and a few nodded in agreement. The words pierced Jasmine like a blade. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Did I do something wrong? I can call my parents if there's a mistake." Stephanie pounced, raising her voice so everyone would hear. The mistake is allowing children who clearly don't belong to sit in first class. She's taking a seat from paying customers who earned it. Phones lifted higher. Screens glowed. More passengers leaned in, eager to capture what they believed was drama worth sharing. Lisa stood still, pulse racing. Then, slowly, with her heart pounding and her hand shaking, she slipped the cash into her pocket. Her voice changed. It lost the firmness, the conviction. "Maybe there's a computer glitch," she murmured. "I'll recheck the system." Jasmine's chest tightened. "But you just said I was fine," she whispered, eyes swimming. "You said there was no mistake." Stephanie's mouth curved in triumph. "See? Even the crew agrees now." A well-dressed woman leaned across the aisle. "Some children aren't taught travel etiquette," she said, her voice smooth but cruel. She was asked to leave, and she's still complaining. Derek Mitchell, a 20-something with slick hair and a phone gripped tightly, spoke to his camera in a gleeful whisper. "Black kid meltdown incoming. You're all about to witness it live." Thousands of viewers tuned in, filling the chat with laughing emojis as Jasmine's world collapsed. Jasmine gripped her phone, fumbling to dial her parents. Straight to voicemail, again and again. She tried her mother, then her father, her hands trembling. No answer. Stephanie's laughter rang out. "See, even her parents don't have time." "That's because they're too busy scraping by. Meanwhile, real families pay for these seats." "My family isn't poor," Jasmine said, the words small, breaking, almost swallowed by her sobs. "I don't understand." Her innocence should have stopped them cold. Instead, it fueled their cruelty. Lisa, her guilt like lead, leaned closer. "I'll get you a comfortable seat in economy," she said, unable to meet Jasmine's eyes. The betrayal broke her. Tears spilled freely as she shook her head. "I just want to sit in my seat. I just want to go home." But the passengers weren't moved. One by one, their faces hardened, their comments sharpened. They saw not a child, but an interloper, a target, an opportunity to feel superior. None of them realized the truth. Every second of their cruelty was being recorded. And when the plane landed, justice would meet them on the ground. Captain Davis had been monitoring the situation from the cockpit. Reports from other attendants had already reached him. But when he finally stepped into the first-class cabin, he saw enough to know this was no simple dispute. A teenage girl sat with her face wet from tears, clinging to her phone like a lifeline. Around her, adults smirked, whispered, and filmed. Lisa Patel stood stiff beside her, guilt written plainly on her face. "What's going on here?" the captain asked, his voice calm but carrying the weight of command. Lisa swallowed hard. "Seating issue, sir. We're trying to resolve it." "This doesn't look like a seating issue," Captain Davis said, his eyes narrowing. He crouched slightly, bringing himself to Jasmine's level. "Miss, are you all right?" Jasmine's chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. She blinked up at him, her hope clinging to his uniform. "I don't understand why everyone's being so mean to me," she whispered. "I didn't do anything wrong. I was just sitting in my seat." The captain's expression darkened. He didn't need a full explanation. The tear-streaked face in front of him told him more than enough. But before he could press, another attendant appeared at his side. She leaned close, whispering urgently in his ear. "Sir, we've received instructions. VIP arrival protocol has been activated for Chicago." His brows rose. That procedure was reserved for only the most important passengers, heads of state, industry titans, billionaires. He looked back at Jasmine, then straightened slowly. "I'll return shortly," he said to the cabin. His gaze swept the crowd, lingering on Stephanie's smug face and Lisa's trembling one. "I expect everyone here to remain civil." He left. The hush he left behind was quickly broken by Stephanie's smirk. "Finally. Proper authorities are handling this. About time." Jasmine's phone buzzed. She glanced down, her tears pausing for just a moment as she read the message. "Almost there, Princess. I'll be waiting at the gate. Can't wait to see you." Her lips curved into a trembling smile. "My daddy's coming," she said softly, showing her phone to no one in particular. "He's waiting for me." The passengers pounced on her fragile hope. Betty, an elderly woman in pearls, gave a condescending chuckle. "How sweet." "Daddy to the rescue." Derek, still live streaming, whispered theatrically into his phone. "This is getting better every second." Now we get to meet the dad of this entitled little princess. Stay tuned. The plane landed smoothly at O'Hare. As the wheels touched down, Captain Davis's voice came through the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chicago. Please remain seated. A VIP disembarkation procedure is in effect. Security personnel will be boarding. Stephanie smoothed her dress and checked her reflection in her phone. At last, she announced to the cabin. I knew my calls to management would pay off. They're here for me. But the moment the cabin doors opened, it was clear she was wrong. A team of impeccably dressed men in tailored suits boarded briskly, their movements sharp, efficient, protective. Their earpieces and purposeful stride gave away their profession, private security. The entire first-class cabin stiffened. The lead officer scanned the passengers once before his gaze settled firmly on Jasmine. His stern expression melted into something softer. "Miss Robinson," he said warmly, "your father is waiting for you in the VIP lounge." He was very concerned when he heard about the disturbance. A stunned silence fell. Stephanie sputtered, "VIP lounge? For her?" Jasmine's tears slowed, replaced by a look of relief so pure it hurt to witness. "Daddy sent security?" she asked, her voice catching with sudden joy. "That means everything's okay." The officers moved with practiced precision, helping her gather her belongings with gentle respect, shielding her from cameras. The contrast was breathtaking. Where moments ago she was treated like an intruder, now she was handled like royalty. A man's voice broke the silence. Frank, the elderly critic, leaned forward, his voice trembling. Who exactly is your father?" Jasmine tilted her head in innocent confusion. "Jonathan Robinson," she said simply. "He owns an airline." The silence that followed was deafening. Stephanie's smile collapsed. Derek's phone nearly slipped from his hand. Betty gasped. Sandra, the polished executive, went pale. They all realized the same truth at once. They had spent the entire flight tormenting the daughter of one of the most powerful men in the airline industry. Jasmine looked around at their faces, now frozen with fear. "Why is everyone so quiet now?" she asked, her voice trembling but curious. Lisa Patel's hands shook as she fumbled into her pocket, pulling out the crumpled bills. I'm so sorry," she stammered. "I didn't know who you were." She tried to return the money to Stephanie, her face pale. Jasmine blinked at her. "Realize what? That I was telling the truth?" Her question, spoken in pure innocence, landed like a hammer. She had been right all along. She shouldn't have needed her father's name for them to believe her. Passengers shifted in their seats, the weight of what they had done settling in. Phones that once gleamed proudly were now lowered. Their owners suddenly aware that their cruelty had been broadcast to the world. And as Jasmine rose with the help of her father's security, the balance of power shifted completely. She walked down the aisle with dignity, while those who had mocked her shrank into silence, their faces pale with dread. At Chicago O'Hare, the air buzzed with anticipation as passengers craned their necks to watch the scene unfold. The suited security team guided Jasmine through the cabin, every gesture of theirs careful and respectful. To them, she wasn't just a passenger, she was family, a daughter whose safety mattered above all. Behind her, the faces that had mocked her turned pale, drained of their smug superiority. Derek lowered his phone, suddenly aware that thousands of viewers were now furious rather than entertained. Stephanie sat rigid, her designer handbag clutched tight, her eyes darting as if searching for an escape. The moment Jasmine stepped off the plane, her gaze locked on a tall, broad-shouldered man waiting near the VIP lounge entrance. Jonathan Robinson, CEO, businessman, but more importantly, her father, opened his arms. "Daddy!" Jasmine cried, breaking into a run. She crashed into him, burying her face against his chest. Jonathan held her close, his usually composed demeanor cracking as he pressed his cheek to her hair. "I'm here, princess." "I'm so sorry. You should never have gone through this." Her words came in broken sobs. "They were so mean to me. I don't know why. I was just sitting in my seat." Jonathan's jaw tightened. His grip firmed as though shielding her from the memory itself. "You did nothing wrong. Sometimes people make cruel assumptions, but none of that is your fault." She looked up, her innocence still piercing. They thought we were poor. Is being poor bad? Are poor people not allowed in nice seats? His chest ached at the question. He knelt to meet her eyes. No, baby. Being poor isn't bad. Everyone deserves respect no matter what they have. Some people just forget that. Jasmine wiped her face with the back of her hand. The flight attendant. She took money, but she looked like she really needed it. Can we help her get another job? Jonathan studied her, pride flickering through his sorrow. Even after betrayal, she thought of others. Yes, he said softly. We'll see what we can do. The consequences for the others came quickly and mercilessly. Stephanie Blackwood's reputation collapsed overnight. When Derek's footage went viral, her name became synonymous with cruelty. Country clubs expelled her, charities erased her from their boards, and even her wealthy relatives distanced themselves. The woman who had thrived on inherited privilege was now infamous, her arrogance documented for millions to see. Sandra, the executive who had sneered about travel etiquette, lost her job immediately. Her firm, closely tied to Robinson Airlines, had no choice but to cut her loose. With her reputation in tatters, she found herself unemployable in the corporate world she once ruled. Frank and Betty, the elderly couple who had chimed in with condescension, were banned from Robinson Airlines and its partners. Their years of comfortable travel ended with public humiliation, often recognized in airports, whispered about, and even asked to leave flights. Bradley, the young trust fund passenger who had laughed at Jasmine's tears, discovered that wealth could not buy respect. The footage of him mocking a crying girl spread like wildfire. Social invitations evaporated, and job offers, already rare, disappeared entirely. Derek Mitchell, the man who turned Jasmine's pain into content, faced perhaps the swiftest fall. His platforms banned him, his content was removed, and lawsuits loomed for filming a minor without consent. He had wanted viral fame. He got it, but as a villain, not a star. And Lisa Patel, the flight attendant whose weakness had turned her against a child, was fired before she even left the airport. But Jonathan Robinson, honoring his daughter's compassion, ensured she wasn't destroyed entirely. Through quiet channels, he arranged for her to receive financial counselings and job placement assistance. Jasmine had asked for grace, and he gave it. 6 months later, Robinson Airlines launched an industry-leading sensitivity program. Every employee, from executives to crew, underwent training designed to prevent discrimination and protect vulnerable passengers. Other airlines soon followed, reshaping standards worldwide. Jasmine herself had changed. She began volunteering at a community center, working with children who knew bullying and discrimination firsthand. Her ordeal gave her empathy that reached beyond privilege. "I don't want to be sheltered anymore," she told her father one evening. "I want to understand the world and help." Jonathan listened with pride. She had lost some innocence, yes, but she had gained a rare wisdom, the ability to choose kindness even after cruelty. For the passengers who had mocked her, the story never ended. Their names circulated in blacklists and news articles. Wherever they went, people whispered, "Those are the ones who bullied the CEO's daughter." But for Jasmine, the story became something larger than humiliation or revenge. It became a parable. She had endured cruelty and betrayal, yet she had responded with compassion. As she walked with her father one evening, she asked him, "Daddy, do you think people will ever learn to be kind first instead of cruel?" He looked at her, his heart heavy but proud. "Maybe not everyone, Princess, but you've shown them it's possible." In boardrooms, classrooms, and living rooms around the world, people replayed Derek's footage not as comedy, but as a mirror. And many asked themselves a single haunting question. When faced with the choice between cruelty and kindness, which would I choose? Jasmine Robinson had chosen kindness even in her darkest hour. And that choice changed not just her life, but the lives of everyone who heard her story.